Gaming and porn addiction are more connected than you would think. Would you believe that 70% of gamers say that they feel like they're addicted to gaming? And similar numbers are being found for people who watch porn. So we know they're related, but the big question is which one is worse? So we're going to look at, is gaming or porn worse for your brain, and does it disrupt your life more than the other? I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. We're going to break down the neuroscience behind gaming and porn addiction. But before we do that, let's set the stage. So we know that gaming and porn are up, way up in recent years. And along with the increase, we see an increase in mental and physical health challenges. The mental health challenges include anxiety, depression, loneliness, isolation, and ADHD symptoms. The physical health issues include a sedentary lifestyle that leads to a whole host of problems. We also see an increase in carpal tunnel from gaming and honestly from masturbation when it's coupled with porn consumption. And the big one here is what I call SAD, sexual arousal dysfunction, which includes ED and delayed ejaculation. So we know they're related, but they will show up in your life in different ways. So let's look at the brain science. What the brain science shows is that there's very similar brain performance patterns for those people who are addicted to gaming and those who are addicted to porn. So what happens is the prefrontal cortex, the front area of your brain, has decreased functioning. So, what that does, it'll impact both your mental and physical health, but primarily your ability to think and to focus, impulse control, and judgment. So, when it comes to impulse control, we know that makes you want to go back to play more games and watch more porn. Impulse control can lead to compulsion over time. So, then what happens is the reward center in the midbrain and the reward pathways up to the frontal lobe, they're impacted too. It impacts a neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is the molecule of more motivation and pleasure. So basically, you become motivated back for more and more pleasure from the source that you got it from, gaming or porn. So we know that the brain mechanisms are the same and that they are disrupted in the same way, and they affect your mental and physical health in very similar ways. And the biggest consequences are productivity, relationships, and overall feelings of well being. But those consequences play out very differently depending upon what your brain is linked to. If it's linked to gaming, what science shows is when a person goes into a game, it makes them feel more social than in their real life. They may develop more leadership skills within the game, and they may communicate more with people because they're in an avatar. So it makes them feel a little bit more confident. So we know that the reward in a game is leadership, confidence, and achievement. Those are the primary rewards a person is getting for going back to gaming. Yes, it takes them away from their life, but those are the rewards. Now, the reward for going into porn tends to be hypersexuality. Your brain starts looking for sex everywhere, not necessarily achievement, sex. And we know that most of the times what happens is it can increase violent sex as a reward, depending upon what you're watching. Many times there's younger women involved. So now your brain is becoming linked to more violent acts with younger people. At the same time, we know many of the acts will cross over a person's moral boundaries and will impact what's called your sex map, your arousal template. So now you're becoming aroused by different genres and acts, and your brain is becoming linked to that. So the reward is very different when it comes to gaming or when it comes to porn. Your brain becomes linked to social leadership achievement in gaming and sexual violence with younger people that's affecting your arousal template, leading to hypersexuality, leading you to think about sex and want sex all the time. So those are the rewards, and the consequences show up differently. So we know the consequences are productivity, relationships, and well being. Now, when it comes to porn, there can become a big divide in your primary relationship with your honey because we know from science your brain wants to go back to that high arousal from what you're watching in porn. So there's relationship dissatisfaction and dissatisfaction with your partner. So the consequences become larger in many cases for people who consume porn over gaming. Now, I'm not saying one's better for you than the other because it does depend which one you are more addicted to or you have the compulsion to go back to. But what I know is that scientifically and anecdotally from people's stories, the disruption in your life can be much bigger from pornography. So, yes, they show up in your brain very similarly, but the havoc wreaked on a person's life can be much larger because of porn. So we know that yes, it might be similar and related, but porn damages your brain more and it can disrupt your life more. Now, if you're struggling with gaming or porn, I want you to know that they both have been found to be highly addictive, but with the right techniques and tools, it's much easier to leave them both behind. And we know where the problem lies, so does the solution. So, the solution is healing your brain from the inside out and being able to get on purpose in your life in terms of your work, your hobbies, and your relationships. So, the dysfunctional brain pattern that we see of the frontal lobe in the reward center. That can be visualized on something called a QEEG brain map. When you see that dysfunction in your brain, then you know exactly what needs to happen to heal it. So, I want you to know the solution is where the problem lies, and you can release yourself from the shackles of gaming or porn or both. If you're inspired, put a comment down below and let us know how are you struggling with gaming or porn. And if you want help on the journey, please go over to drtrishleigh.com. Check out the QEEG brain map because it can be the roadmap for your way out of gaming or porn addiction. And as always, control your brain or it'll control you.